How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome to Deluge, Threnody of Crashing Waves. This is a game that came out for free in July, and it looks really good. It looks like it's reasonably longish, you know, like for a free game, you know, like 7 hours, 8 hours, something like that. And it's got some stunning looking artwork. It's got some horror themes apparently. It's got some choose your own adventure-ness. You know, all the things we're looking for around here. So I thought it would be a absolute shame not to cover it. It has got quite a few reviews, but you know, it's a free game, so you would expect it to. So yeah, I highly recommend you jump off and play it if this looks interesting to you, but let's jump in, shall we? I'd like to do a full series. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it won't be too terrifying. I think we'll be okay. Especially after just having done, you know, Devotion, which was legitimately terrifying. She appeared oblivious to the rolling waves, the incessant thunder, the lashing rain as it soaked her winding obsidian hair. And she stared at me with a fanatical gaze in her eyes. There was... Suddenly the lurch of a braking bus shook me from my dream. In a state of panic, I exited the vehicle. Although it wasn't until it had disappeared into the distance that I noticed I'd gotten off one stop too soon. It's weird that it's carrying on without me. As the memories of my dream faded from my conscious mind, I immediately became preoccupied with the worries more mundane in nature. For I had wasted another weekend fruitlessly inquiring local businesses for part-time employment. You should have tried during harvest, they'd reply, regretfully, if they didn't just laugh in my face. I was beginning to run out of options. Look at that artwork, man. It's stunning. Due to setbacks at my father's work, the same that had led him to slash my weekly allowance, we were forced to relocate to Abbotsford, an agricultural hub with low-cost living. To me it felt like the apocalypse. I'd lost my home, my friends, my indulgent city life. And now I couldn't even find a side job. But in retrospect, I'll admit these were peaceful days, where money was the greatest problem on my carefree mind. Yeah, it's just, there's no click to continue, it's just continuing on its own. That was before I realised I had a stalker. Great. Well, she's not very threatening. Well, she does look angry a little bit. I'm assuming we'll get a click to continue after the intro. Have you seen the eyes of Leviathan? Not recently. These tombs have witnessed the dawn of man. The centuries look upon us now. A boundless mass of human being flowing in a stream without banks. That's impressive. That's impressive. That whole introduction sequence is impressive. This is made in Rempire as well, I can tell, but it's stunning what they've done with it. Grapes of wrath have borne their fruit. A serpent coils through endless depths. Decades of fright and sorrow will converge in a threnody of crashing waves. I've never heard of the word threnody before. So I learned something new today. I saw you loitering around the stores yesterday. You better admit it. Her name was Ina, a strange, determined girl. Although she was in the same class as I wouldn't be able to say who her friends were. I have no idea what you're talking about. They say a man is only as good as his labour. I've got just the thing for you. Please follow me up to my office. I mean, it's quite nice not having to click anything. I'm just sitting here reading. This continues on its own. I followed her into a small, cluttered room that was situated next to the teacher's lounge. It's so unbearably hot in here. Let me take off that horrible uniform. Gracelessly, she removed her vest and jersey, crumpling them into a ball, which she dropped into a corner of the room. I don't understand why they're making us wear viscose. It's practically tropical outside. She turned to me. You're anxious to get started, right? Let me explain what your duties will entail. I need someone to deliver a newspaper. Don't worry, I can see a panic forming in your eyes. Brains, however, are entirely optional for this job. Thank God. She cut me off. If there's one thing this village is famous for, it's the stellar quality of our newspaper, the Sunday Abbot. Or at least it is since I took over as editor-in-chief. The Abbot doesn't play games, you know. 4th place in the national ranking of school papers, an honourable mention by the Evening Mirror. I didn't know we had a school paper. A school paper? We have much more than that. Crime, corruption, unsolved mysteries. Did you know that we were the first to break news on the Stanford House affair? And I have so much more up my sleeve. So what do you say? Will you take the job? Can I save? Am I allowed to save and shit whenever I want? Okay, good. Cool. It's better than nothing, I'll take it. Great, let me show you my mock-up for this week's issue. This week we're reporting on an interesting case. It's linked to a murder that happened about a year before you arrived here. Hell yeah. Back then, we brought the news of a seasonal worker who fell victim to a violent attack on one of the local farms. It was late at night. He was on his way to his sleeping quarters after his shift ended, when suddenly he was struck from behind by an anonymous assailant. Ina, in her apparent excitement, had begun tapping her right hand against her skirt. His co-workers found him next morning, more dead than alive. By the time the ambulance arrived, he'd already succumbed to his injuries. Regretfully, he wasn't able to give a testimony before he died. Poor guy. A full year has passed since that fateful night, so I decided to do due diligence. I went down to the police station to ask how the investigation into the attack was coming along. However, the receptionist told me the case had been closed. Case closed? I asked her. Then who was the culprit? But she said that the perpetrator had never been found. Then when I asked if I could see the case file, she just mumbled something and directed me towards the exit. Ina sighed. I know exactly what goes on around here. They never did a proper investigation. You know, the owner of the farm where it all happened, he has ties to the town mayor. The place is ruled by a small caucus of cronies that can do as they like as long as their powers go unchecked. That's why we need a quality newspaper to shine a light in the darkness. I could detect a tremble in her voice. We really need a paperboy. Do it for your community, Abe. These poor wretches need you. By that time, I'd already begun to notice the first signs of Ina's compelling presence, although I ascribed it to a youthful eccentricity at the time, not paying it any further attention. The afternoon was drawing to an end. Wordlessly, we gathered our belongings and headed toward the stairs. Let's get down to business. We have just under 2,000 subscribers. I'll pay you 2 cents per paper delivered. That should add up to a decent salary for a morning's work. Now remember, the printer will deliver tomorrow at 5 in the morning, so I want to see you here no later than 5:15 AM. I'm not much of a morning person. See you then. Not like we're going to get a choice by the look of it. That night I lay in turmoil, pondering whether I should even indulge Ina's ridiculous offer. While a neurotic, continuous tapping played through my head like a stenotype. Please don't throw any words at me I don't know while it's automatically scrolling through the words. Morning came all too soon. So you're finally there. The delivery guy left ages ago. I could use some help with the boxes. Ina didn't appear in the least bit thrilled to see me. Here's a list of all the addresses, sort by proximity to the school. Please try not to get lost. I'm off now. I have a lot of reading to catch up on. You can call me when you're done. She handed me a small business card with her number on it. Chief editor of the Sunday Abbot was printed below her name in tasteful lettering. Ooh, tasteful. I have a question. Though she appeared anxious to leave, she turned around at the last moment. What? So why is it called the Sunday Abbot? What do you mean? That doesn't make sense, does it? If it's delivered on a Saturday. That's just the way it's always been. We deliver on Saturdays and people read it on Sundays. Some of our subscribers are very old-fashioned, you know. They wouldn't want us working during Sabbath. But we're at a school. Anyway, good luck with your first day of the job. It's a school paper. How old-fashioned can people at a school paper be? Well, did school papers go to people, just regular people? I resigned myself to the arduous labour, even though it was October already, and unnatural sticky heat permeated the air that made my work all the more unbearable. How quickly my situation had taken a turn for the worst. No more than 2 months ago, I'd been enjoying my life among the nation's elite, headed for a bright role on the world stage. I would be pained to see myself now spreading gutter journalism for a slave's wage. But then out of nowhere, a snapping shadow lunged towards me. The street erupted in violent mayhem as I fought to keep the dog's razor-sharp fangs away from my jugular, using my messenger bag to shield myself from its all-devouring clutches. It looked kind of happy. I was in a state of panic, frantically trying to block its strikes as I sought a path to safety. And without further hesitation, I limped over a garden wall, away from what I figured was the hound's territory. Sigurd. I must have run at least 4 blocks before collapsing onto a playground bench. I took some time to come to my senses, all the while cursing Ina for not disclosing the dangers of the job. If I encounter one more dog today, I will definitely... Sigurd! Over the sound of my heavy breathing, I could discern a fragile voice calling out, Sigurd? Please stop hiding, Sigurd! A girl appeared, her eyes as bright as the summer sky. Hi there, are you delivering the mail? She seemed distracted by my sudden presence. No sign of her prior distress remained. Calling it mail may be an overstatement. It's just a weekly paper. I'd love to work as a postman one day. The honour, the excitement. To see the delight in people's eyes when they receive life-altering news. I let out a self-deprecating chuckle. I know someone you might like to meet. Sigurd. She was at it again, at the top of her lungs. Are you looking for someone? That dog that just tried to kill us. No, it's my little brother Sigurd. He loves playing hide and seek. He made me count to 100 this time, but when I turned around he disappeared without a trace. The dog probably ate him, to be fair. Isn't that the object of the game? This was almost half an hour ago. Usually doesn't stray so far. Well, I really hope you find him. I have to get going. They don't pay me by the hour. Will you please look out for Sigurd? He's wearing a light red fleece. I told him it was far too warm for his winter clothes, but he never listens. Will you let me know if you see him? I mean, obviously I will, but let's save anyway. Sure thing, I'll keep my eyes wide open. You're the best. Please send him over here if you find him. You got it. Every mansion's had a garden, and every garden had a gate, and every cursed garden gate had added 3 more seconds to my seemingly endless route. I really didn't mind the apartment complexes, which had their letterboxes stacked conveniently together, but these gardens were ruining my average. And while I gradually began to come to the conclusion that Ina had played me for a fool, suddenly the infernal beast returned. Without abandon, it began furiously snapping at my leg. There, Ferris. The man's doing an important job. Adeptly, she wrangled the dog away from my quivering limbs. I'm sorry, Ferris is usually very kind, but it takes him a while to get used to strangers. Your dog has been terrorizing me all morning, madam. Oh, Ferris isn't my dog. He lives here. The community has adopted him. You must be new in town. I'm Karen. I work at the city council. Welcome to the beautiful municipality of Abbotsford. I'm so glad you're willing to do this job. I heard Ina had some unfortunate resignations as of late, but a small town like this really needs free press. Ina mentioned something along those lines. I handed her a paper, and as I was about to proceed on my route, her eyes fell on the headline. Wait a minute, this seems interesting. As she skimmed over the front page, a grave expression came over her face. This is very interesting indeed. What you've dug up here? You should be careful though, this is a very small community. She uttered the warning with concern in her voice. I'm just the paper boy. I know, I apologize. This really is very interesting. And with those words, she proceeded to make her way back toward the council building, until I suddenly recalled May's words. Wait, have you seen a little boy somewhere around here? She turned around, a meaningful expression appearing on her face. I figured you'd run into May. Don't worry too much. Little Sigurd always shows up in the end. Hopefully. Hopefully he turns up alive. Though the fortunate may be entitled to Saturdays off, my fate is governed by a crueler power. If you want to experience hell on earth, I implore you to take on a paper round. My hands lacerated, my legs buckling. Sigurd? Sigurd, where are you, Sigurd? Please come out. Mum will be angry. Her voice was reduced to a feeble wail. I hurried in the direction of the sound. Sigurd still hasn't come back. He's never been away this long. She was teary-eyed, shivering like a newborn calf. Please, Sigurd, please. Sigurd? And as she pleaded, her voice grew fainter as though the last of her strength was slipping away. Until suddenly her eyes, which had been vibrant blue to a heartbeat ago, turned an ashen white. A silent murmur escaped her lips. Sigurd, please, Sigurd, no. He's only 7, please don't take him. Having lost all her prior vitality, May had become wholly possessed by a paralysing entrancement. Staring into her pale white eyes, I could determine her life essence was very frail at the time, a faint light in the distance close to dying out. A growing concern took hold of me. Are you alright? Do you want me to call someone? But my words passed right through her. Please, I promise you'll be good. Please let him stay with me. Sigurd? Her knees buckled. Had I not been fast enough to catch her, she would have plummeted to the ground. As I stood there, trying my best to keep her upright, I felt her strength gradually return. As suddenly as it had appeared, the paralysis dissipated from her body. She remained silent for a very long time. I'm sorry. Her voice was calm, almost devoid of emotion. I'm sorry, I forgot. Sigurd isn't here anymore. I apologize for causing you trouble. And without any further clarification, she disappeared into the night. The hell is going on around here? I'm just a paperboy. I'm not qualified for this shit. I picked up the phone. Where are you? What happened? I flinched from the outrage in her voice. Nothing happened. I'm back home from a long day's work. But these boxes, there are still 3 boxes here. That means we've disappointed subscribers. Ina, the job's killing me. I'll be contacting the Civil Labour Board. You better finish this first thing in the morning. I swear, if we have even one cancelled subscription over this, I'll be docking your pay till Christmas. Sure, Ina. The cataclysm of abuse had ended. She remained quiet for a while before resuming in a more subdued voice. Please be here early tomorrow morning. We need to deliver the remaining papers before the fundies get up for church. Sure, Ina. Don't give a shit, Ina. When Monday finally came, it felt like a welcome respite. I sat in class, dozing a little, plagued at times by flashbacks of rabid dogs. It was after classes ended that a dark-haired girl approached me out of nowhere. I understand how summer's drawing late and that we're all young and in our best spirits. I stared at her uncomprehendingly. I'd just like you to know that May is strictly off limits. Alarm bells went off in my head. Please tell me what's going on. Safe. I have no idea what you're talking about. You think you can lie yourself out of this one? Just understand, this is a small community. Rumors travel fast in a place like this. If only she realized that romance was the furthest thing from my mind at the time. She sighed. You may have noticed that May isn't exactly like the other girls. I nodded. She has a learning disability. The school board is currently struggling to place her in suitable education. So for the time being, she's being taught by a small group of church volunteers. When she realized that I was sympathetic to the situation, her overall stance softened. Together we made our way to the main exit. It's good to see a new face in school. So how are you enjoying the Isle of Abbot? My name's Rika, by the way. Rika Cupier? I apologize for not introducing myself sooner. Pleased to meet you, I'm Abe. Abe? Abe Jansen? Oh, I heard your father would be coming. It's good to know he finally arrived. He should know my dad. He's the pastor in town. I'm afraid we're not a very religious family. Oh, he'll know my dad, I'm sure of it. And she stood there, staring at me with a beaming smile. It was as if all her prior hostility had completely evaporated. It's alright, because it automatically moves ahead, I don't have time to try and sound out words that I don't recognize. I should probably be on my best behaviour when dealing with the pastor's daughter. I've been teased about that more than enough. Religion is a lot less intimidating when you grow up around it, you know. Due to my father's status, people have always treated me like some kind of sacrosanct being. But to me, the Bible is just a mysterious storybook. A faraway glance appeared in her eyes. I've always loved to read about the fantastic creatures, like the behemoth and the leviathan. Did you ever hear about the leviathan? She began to recite. I have seen a great light in the sea. You may have seen the eyes of Leviathan, for his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. When Leviathan is hungry, he emits a fiery breath from his mouth and causes the waters of the deep to boil. She let out a dignified squeal of delight. That would give me nightmares. Isn't it exciting? Oh, I wonder how the Leviathan feels, submerged all alone in pitch black darkness. She ran her fingers tenderly through her flaxen hair. And just then, the quiet corridor erupted in a vitriolic clamour. No loitering during club time. I need you in my office right now. Ina? I'm so glad to hear you found someone for the school paper. I'm not on the school paper. It's not a school paper. It's an independent periodical with 2,000 paying subscribers. Come, Abe, follow me. She's very uptight, isn't she? Afraid she might ignite an irate fury over my performance during the weekend, I timidly wait for her to begin speaking. Her initial outburst, however, appeared to have been transient in nature. She was just sitting there, paging through a heavy book. After what felt like an eternity, she began to talk. Did you notice the crickets yesterday? I felt no answer was expected. The crickets sing during July and August. It's a sound they make to attract potential mates. I think I heard them chirping last night. This year something isn't right. Their song tapered off a bit in September and now they're out in full force again. I'm doing research on this phenomenon for an article. It's a chore, so I'm going to ask you to take over some of my duties. I'll need you to cover the weekly progress section this week. The what now? The weekly progress. It's a recurring editorial in which we write something about a local event or inhabitant of the town. Sadly, I inherited it from the previous editor-in-chief. It's a community favourite, so I haven't been able to cut it yet. But never mind, it's only 300 words. You could write about anything or anyone you see around town. Seems perfectly suited for you. I haven't agreed to any of this. I thought I was just delivering shit. If you want to keep your job, you'll have to be a team player. Does that mean I'll be paid for this? Don't get any ideas. I quit. She returned to her book. Assuming I was no longer needed, I excused myself. But on my way to the door, she called after me. Hey, that girl you were talking to? Rika, what about her? What did she say to you? I was silent for a second. Nothing much. She approached me in the hallway. Apparently her family are involved with religion. You can say that again. Her father is a powerful figure in town, the leader of the Church of Abbotsford. Whatever that means. Ina stared at me with an intent gaze. I want you to befriend Rika. If you get close to her, we'll be privy to a trove of information on the sordid power structures in the community. We'll have so many exclusives. Wouldn't that be a rather underhanded reason to befriend someone? You're a journalist now. You have to play the game in order to get to the bottom of things. You're a journalist. That gives you permission to be an arsehole. So, will you do this for me? thought I was just a paper boy. And a terrible one at that. You know, I haven't been paid yet. She ignored my remark. There was something strange, Rika said. I believe she called this place the Isle of Abbot. Does that make sense to you? The Isle of Abbot? It's just a phrase the old people use. It's an interesting tale. Did you know this town was once surrounded by miles and miles of water? This place? You can't be serious. You couldn't be further from the sea down here. She sighed. You may have noticed how the village of Abbotsford lies slightly elevated above the surrounding fields. Not really. Well, let me show you on the map. She browsed her phone for a while before handing it to me. Look, this is the situation as it is today. You can see the town of Abbotsford down there, surrounded by the sprawling farmland of Marshpolder. However, it didn't always look like this. The Marshpolder is an artificial land constructed during the first half of the 20th century. It was initially conceptualized as a way to meet the rising demand for housing and farmland. The lake used to be an inland sea, but they built a great dam in the north, severing its connection to the ocean. These were times of unfettered progress. The national government didn't shy away from major development projects. They stemmed off a large area of water before proceeding to pump it dry, and that's how the stretch of land was formed that would become the Marshpolder. She took back her phone and called up a different map. This is what it looked like before 1942. As you can see, there's no sign of the Marshpolder yet. The lake was still an inland sea. And Abbotsford was an island. It was indeed. A few greybeards around here might still recall the day when the last of the water was pumped out and their homestead was an island no more. Ina put away her phone and returned to her book, softly muttering to herself. That incessant chirping, I can hear it even here. I wonder if they've entered a second mating season. Maybe Spengler was right. I left the office quietly. As I walked back home, my mind explored all the different strategies I could employ to restore my cherished city life. I could stay at my aunt's house until I'd be able to finance a place of my own. That, or I could find a comfortable bridge to sleep under. I was so preoccupied with my thoughts that I didn't notice a familiar figure approaching. Hi there. Come to the stones with me. I leapt back when I realized who it was. Sorry, I'm not allowed to talk to you. What? Are you joking? Who said that? That Kuiper girl cornered me after class. She let out a childish giggle. Rika? Oh, she's just teasing you. Please come to the stones with me. And that seems like the perfect time to wrap this one up because we're nearly at half an hour and the only thing that really stops the progress of dialogue is choices. So we're going to wrap this one up here. I'm curious to see where this goes, I have to admit. It's definitely interesting. The art is fantastic. And it's really well written. We'll see what happens. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.